So coming back to the 101s of industrial design, we can't do all 10 of them, but at least we can start with first 5. The first one is, even though we are looking right now at beauty and really what we see at the artwork, I know I'm biased, Josiah, but that is absolutely beautiful. Beauty always becomes a pretty big attracting and unifier for what we do. But as a design studio, we do not start in the world of beauty. As I think Josiah was explaining, or it is demonstrating, we start in the world of usefulness, usability, the efficacy of use, the efficiency of use, the ergonomics of it. And then as we are surrounded by these big pillars, then eventually what we come off will always be beautiful. So I think whatever comes out of our studio, or literally any good studio, would always be beautiful, but it always starts with identifying the right problem or the problems and then solving them meaningfully. And you have to understand how you solve them, right? Sometimes there are unintended consequences even of a good solution, but how to anticipate them and then solve them together as a bunch. And then eventually it just has to look good. By the way, beauty itself is a pretty, it's not just the sexiness, the shininess, the sculptural vanity part as such. The beauty actually gets defined by the context of where the product is. I will try to maybe share my screen here a little bit, hopefully. No? Yes. So Josiah, you keep on drawing.
Yeah.
I'll try to share my screen over here.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
About the basic elements about a design as such. Shared window out in the front. Okay. Let me know, Lanaya, when you can see the screen. Hopefully you can see the screen. So I will just try to go with the basic elements about design as such, right? Means the first one was absolutely about it's not just beauty, is a magnification of all the other elements over there. The second part is when we say about a product, it's always people think it's an hardware part of it. So hardware becomes a pretty important part, but there are 4 aspects of any product solution as such, right? Hardware becomes the basic unifier, the anchor of it. The other part, no matter what nowadays for the product, is the GUI, the graphic user interface. I'm not talking about a website or a portal. If it is a washing machine, if it is a, let's say an oven, there will always be nowadays more the things you'll be controlling on a sheet of glass. How does the interaction go between that hardware and that software that's on the object? But behind the object, there's always the world of the digital, I would say, twinning, right? You're always getting the data in a good way, not the big bad data as such, but utilizing the data and then understanding how you can work on it, how you can take it further. It might be simple as getting the data from a vehicle, or getting the data from your grilling machine or a grill out in the patio and back those, and trying to see how people are using it. When are they using it? What are the different patterns in the weather that might be affecting how we are using it or not? I was just talking yesterday with another architect. This might go, and let me know if your answer is different. A jacuzzi is in the house. Means an average time a jacuzzi gets used, that's one inside the house, not the one outside, is only 7 times. Can you imagine that? When people buy the house, they look at the jacuzzi and maybe that influences their buying pattern, but the way it's actually used is completely different way, or really used. So the understanding the data part of it, of what's really happening. If you're coming up with a newer car, and this happened, I think, with a couple of big brands, they were giving hundreds of features, but the first time and the second time the vehicle comes back for the tuning and maintenance, hardly 1 or 2 of those features get utilized as such. So the digital twinning part is really impressive part too. And the fourth part is the servicetization, if that's the word as such, of how now you're extending or growing organically from the product to the way it's going to be serviced. So it's not just B2B, it might be the world of B2C, and in the world of B2B also. So understanding those elements becomes the critical part of any designer. So it's not just beauty, or it is not just the hardware part of it. Understanding the entire elements of where it's going to reside, that becomes, I would say, the first part as such too. And again, feel free to keep on adding or asking questions on the chat as we are going forward. That would be the second element. First, we talked about beauty. The second part, I think, is the way we look at the product itself. The third important part is looking at the context. So we all know, let's say, I should take this. The first part is design for desirability. We are talking about that right now. What does the end user need? Designer is not the user, the end user as such. So basically understanding the world of desirability as such. Then there is another element, right? Design for the viability of the business as such. So whatever the business is, no matter what, one of the element is to make sure you add value to the stakeholders. So how do you understand the business aspirations as such? So as a design studio, we always try to understand and know that good design is good business and how both of those two are aligned. The third part, so this was literally the business viability. The third part is, no matter what, we should have started over here, is the design for feasibility. I think as Josiah was saying, it's no matter what, it's going to be futuristic, but it has to be rooted in the laws of physics. Guys, ladies, we cannot change the laws of physics. So understanding what we can do, the manufacturing processes can be different and they are evolving, but it still has to be made, not just in hand batch production, but for economies of scale. But the fourth most important part over here would be adding the element of ecosystem. And that's where the attributes of what needs to be in the product comes in. No matter how you want, your product cannot be there in isolation. You cannot design it in isolation, and it cannot stand up to itself in isolation. It will always be residing in an ecosystem. Look at the coffee, right? As the coffee cup, if you go to the kitchen is an ecosystem. Yeah, your product has to understand how it's going to relate to other products in the same element. Kitchen becomes an abstract part. Let's say in we do a lots of medical product design. Let's say an operation theater. There's a cacophony of elements happening over there, two dozen products over there. It's not just your product. It has to be literally the orchestration of the other products and the annunciators and the screens and the sounds and the sonification of what's going to finally help the doctor and the patient over there undergoing the surgery they want. So is understanding the ecosystem part of it. But one of the main element over here is, normally always we have seen these diagrams as Venn diagrams. It looks nice and circular. No, it is never nicely like that. These particular things are literally always evolving. These shapes will always keep on changing. It's just like an organism. They will evolve with time, and sometimes the time is 3 months, sometimes it's 3 years, but all these are always dynamically changing. And I think Charles and Ray Ames talk a lot about that in their books, but it's always changing, and you have to always, as much as possible, try to find that ideality between what are going to be those factors as such. So that might be, I would say, still the third thing we need to understand about or talk about. Before we go further, we can try to, and maybe go to Josiah. One more element is we have to understand why we or people want to really buy the products, because products can be meaningful, they can be purposeful, but they have to serve a purpose. They have to have that intended flow of what needs to be solved, which we bring it from design research as such. So overall, when we talk about products, and it happens a lot, as predominantly, I would say, in the startup entrepreneur world, people get locked on the technology part, and then they go around in the market trying to find a home from the technology. It's sometimes it might work. It depends on the context and the domain and the timing. All have to be really aligned and as such. But the way it can be literally explained would be looking at what really people want. It's not unlike the movie, what women want or men want. On the top, we want to find the ideal user experience, no matter what. That's where we want to identify what is the aspirational state, what is the emotional state, what is the experiential state. When we say about the experience design, that's what we all are after. And then we have to start breaking it down. And the next level would be understanding why people are buying it. What are those rational benefits they are still looking at? It might be exploration on Mars, as Josiah is trying to solve and try to mine rich materials from over there, or it might be cutting your lawn or doing just laundry in your laundry room. What are the benefits, the rational benefits that still come into your mind, understanding them, and then breaking down into the attributes that you want according to your brand. So you might still buy a Camaro, or you can buy a Mustang. Both are, in a way, the benefits or the ideal user experience might be aspirational, might be the similar stage, but the way every brand constitutes its its presence around it might be different. And that's why, even though both of them being muscle cars, they will have their own attributes, right? Means you can buy an Aston Martin, you can buy a Lamborghini. It all depends on how you are carving out the positioning of the brand over there. So that then becomes about, interestingly, about the functional attributes, the emotional attributes, and how you recognize them, and how you guard them, and how you make the differentiation based on them. And then it comes down to the word of understanding the technologies you have, the features you need to add. You cannot even start in the featureization. And typically some of the, I would say, predominantly the sales guys in the meeting say, okay, let me add these 3 or 4 more features. Like, let's not jump directly to features at that particular moment. And then becomes the world of technology, and then I would say structure and materials and all those things. So the technology is still a pretty big part, but it is there to realize your dream and to climb that mountain. So technology, then the features, then the attributes, then the benefits, and then reaching out to that experiential state as such. And that's what typically as a studio we try to do. Means, yeah, we are really good in the world of product design. We are really good in the world of design research to grab those elements that the end users want, not user, the multi-users want, and then understanding what are the problems we need to solve. And that's where the innovation strategy, we call it internally Genesis, becomes the prime thrust in understanding what is that future, right? It means no matter what, it can be a plausible future, a preferable future, a possible future. How do you understand those different cones of what needs to happen? And then try to understand what would be the ideality down the line. Think of the end in mind, and then back step and try to see how we can try to go over there. And that's a classical, literally a scientific way of thinking. We are going, understanding the ideality, coming back again, proposing a hypothesis, going out in the market, understanding the gaps, bringing back again in, trying to see how it can be done, doing with these iterative loops of design, as such. There are a couple of more, but maybe I need to pause here, and I can continue that sometime in between the sessions as such. But let me come back again to Josiah to help wrap up this session. And then we will try to, I know Mark is already in the waiting room. We have Eric also there, David also there. So we can get started in 5 minutes, gentlemen. So Josiah, should we talk about the sketch? Let me before that stop my share so we can directly see your screen, and if you want we can pin up your screen over there. Oh my god, that's
sure. Is that even in focus? I can't even tell.
it is Vince. It's cool. I can really look at that. What now I see the scale on the left. We actually have a person there.
Yeah, he's down there. Yeah, so like I said, more of a 2-wheeled rover kind of thing. But and I was considering doing a sidecar, but not this time. Oh, this is a crane, by the way. So some stuff down there. So see, now it's for cargo. But yeah, so you can get an idea for the scale, multi-level, maybe three different levels. We got a little ramp down here and a little balcony up here for observation, and obviously a nice observation deck that's all sealed in. So I think this is cool. I'd like to do a model of this at some point.
This is really cool. I think we need to have one more, and we can race there on the Martian surface.
Oh, now you're talking.
That will be interesting. Means it's there don't need to be any crash barriers. We can go along everywhere.
Yeah, to tie in what we were talking about with Maya before, and most advanced yet acceptable. Anyone who like really closely follows the space programs is probably going to say, what's up with these wheels? This is probably the biggest unknown, right? Because this is like taken directly off of like Opportunity, any of the current rovers up there, and like the wheel style, I'm sure will change. Okay, but this is something that is familiar and makes it look like a space vehicle in a way. So sure, totally something that could change in the future.
Awesome.
But still makes it relatable. But
this is absolutely beautiful. Can you change the camera now to see, so people can see who you are?
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, there it is. There's the Josiah himself. Awesome. Thank you again, Josiah, for that beautiful sketch. And if you want, we can get that scanned, and then you can send it to Lanea, and we can try to make sure we can send it to send it to our participants as such. There are a couple of questions over here. How much of your design inspiration comes from your hobbies or passions as such?
Hmm. Uh, for design inspiration, that's a I would almost say the design knowledge comes from my hobbies. Like I'm sure you can see the cars over here. Big time car guy, and just like to take apart and put back together anything I can possibly manage. And I think that's a huge element of design that kind of goes um, unappreciated or even unexplored in design education is really how something can work. Because that's just going to fast forward um, any project with how you're working with engineers if you have a little bit of a leg up to how things work in the first place. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, particularly the Viper GT40 back there, those are already very well-known designs. So originality is always key. So it's kind of good to just start as fresh as possible for a real design project. This is not a real design project. This is just for fun.
Yeah, can you still show that along with you? So I think maybe
Yeah, sure.
can do a print
Like
screen or something
if
like
I had a
that.
refrigerator,
Yeah.
I'd put it on there. But
What should be the name of this? I think Sid Mead used to name all his creations like Oblagon and all these things. What name comes to your mind?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to.
It's okay.
The orator. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
How about that?
Let's name it right now. Once again, Josiah, we can keep on talking about that, and I know you can keep on sketching, but somehow we can be on time. We need to jump into the panel session. So thank you again. You can mute yourself and unvideo yourself and still be a part of the session over here.